You're listening to Hooked on Startups, where every week you'll hear from some of the most talented, inspiring, and successful entrepreneurs who share their real-life stories, how they overcame challenges and failures, and how they mastered success. Get ready for some of the best business tips, tricks and tactics, and some frank, unscripted discussions. Here's your host, Matthew Sullivan.
Howie Zales, welcome to Hooked on Startups. So I'm beginning to ramble. How are you? Good afternoon. Good morning, depending on where you are.
It's great to be
Good
here.
evening, even. Yes.
Exactly. It's good evening here. Yes.
Yeah, we were just talking about New York because you're just outside New York, and we were just saying that the traffic's beginning to come back, and you know it's funny. People, it's like, well, we quite like it when it was quiet.
Yeah, but you go on the roads and there's no one there. now,
do you
now
think people have
traffic...
forgotten? Have people forgotten how to drive? Do you think is that the danger?
Absolutely.
It's like, I remember this thing. You sit behind the wheel and you press a button and whoa, hey! That's going to be like Death Race 2000 or something.
Yeah, absolutely. It's crazy.
But
traffic in New York is crazy.
Well, yeah, even though there's only that one car is the crazy driver. Who do you think they'll let on first? You know, who do you think is going to come back? Is it going to be, the crazy cab drivers?
You know what? They're less and less because Uber has just changed the industry, especially in New York.
Is it? Are they still? I would have thought. Has there been no sort of fight back from the crazy cab drivers union or something?
Yeah, there has been. They make it difficult to operate or more expensive to operate. You need a license to operate an Uber, and you have to be licensed for New York City. So if you're like in New Jersey and you don't have a license, you can't pick someone up that is in New York City. Right. You can drop them off.
Well, you get them to walk to New Jersey, I guess. Then you could pick them up there.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure. But anyway, we're here to talk about your fascinating background as a behind the camera.
Yes.
And I just want to know about some of the things that you've seen. You must have some stories to tell.
Yeah, I've had a 25-year career so far with tons of stories to tell. First, I'll start off with the injuries.
Yes, always the best. Start with the best, the gory stuff.
People's like, oh my God, that's horrible. You're so unlucky. I'm like, no, I'm lucky to be alive. It's all good. So I was doing, I did a lot of baseball in my early years, and I was doing a camera on the third base side where the Mets play, and that was Shea Stadium at the time. And you're always taught to watch the pitch, God forbid, right? So my responsibility was to shoot the runner on second. I was watching the pitch, so I'm like that, right? And next thing I know, I'm in the hospital. I had got hit in the head right here. Joe McCune from the New York Mets kind of went out in front of the pitch because there's an off-speed pitch, and this was told to me after the fact. He line drive right into my head. And then I fell 6 feet into the Colorado Rockies dugout. And I had a massive concussion. And the funny part of that story is, so I'm on the lead runner, like I said, but when I got hit and fell, my camera kind of jerked to the pitcher's mound. So the pitcher is walking around the pitcher's mound on the dirt, and they take my camera 3 times. And on the 4th time, the pitcher walks off the dirt onto the grass. And because I'm 6 feet below, I'm not panning with him. I'm getting yelled at by the director, pan. And this is all told to me after the fact. And by the time that, 4th time happened and they're yelling at me, word reached the TV truck that it was me that was hit. So.
And was it like a moshi pit experience where you jumped the 6 feet? Were you caught by the Colorado team, or do they just sort of wonder what was going on?
I was like, I fell onto the concrete into the dugout.
Oh, right. Oh, God. I imagine there were people there that sort of caught you and went and sort of, hurrah,
No. I was, and this is all told to me. I was kind of the Colorado Rockies training staff tended to me, and they took me out in a stretcher and on my way in an ambulance. I literally woke up, and the first memory I have is in the hospital.
I suppose and then the next question you asked was, did I get it?
Well, Joe McCune signed a ball, and it was brought to me afterwards. And apparently,
was it slightly flat on one side? Where you sort of, yes. But that's so. Is it mainly sporting events that you? So how did you start your career?
So I wanted to play professional baseball, and I knew I needed in high school I needed a backup, and I needed one class to round out my schedule. And there was an elective, a TV production class, and part of the description was a trip to NBC studios in New York
Oh wow!
and a tour, and to see a TV show being taped. And I'm like, how bad can that be? And so I fell in love with television, and my
Yes.
other love was sports and baseball specifically. So I knew right away I had to somehow jive these two things together.
I remember going to the NBC studios when I was 9, and I can tell you that was a long time ago. And I think they were filming "I Love Lucy" there or something like that. But it is inspiring, isn't it? It is
Yeah.
otherworldly. So how did you start?
So I only applied to colleges that had television programs, and being in New York, we have great state schools. And I went to Plattsburgh State University, and at the college, the TV department had setups in the hockey arena, the basketball arena. So I was like shooting and directing hockey games, basketball games, before I was even like a sophomore in
Yes.
college. So I was getting great experience, and it was such a high. And I was like, that's solidified. I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I just didn't know how to get into it.
And have you stayed with sport? Because I would imagine, as a sportsman yourself, do you have that sixth sense of what's going to happen next? Do you find yourself that you were always in the right place at the right time because of your sort of,
that's part of being, and you see, you can't teach that. And that's
Yes.
part of being like, that makes, camera operators better than the others, because it's like you said, placing yourself in the right position at the right time.
Or just
Whether it's,
yeah.
whether you're doing football and you put yourself in the right spot in the end zone and get the pass coming, or if you're doing a horse race and you position yourself in the right spot to get the horse in the paddock coming around that everyone wants to get a shot of. It's just being able to put yourself in the right place at the right time is like more than half the battle.
I've always wondered as well how people manage to track those golf shots. And when you watch, like the Opens with Tiger Woods or someone who hits the ball at about 8,000 miles an hour.
So I don't do a lot of, in my career, I haven't done a lot of golf, but in the viewfinder, you can turn, there's red, green, and blue. They call them guns, and you can turn the colors off. So the white ball kind of like pops out at you.
Yeah, that's right.
And in professional golf, they're all hitting it pretty much in the same spot.
Yes.
It's just how far.
Yeah, so I suppose the golf cameramen are pretty boring because they know where it's going to end up. So it's not like football. So there's so I can imagine that. Imagine at least it wasn't a I was going to say cricket back then. There you are. At least it wasn't a baseball bat that had been launched.
Right.
So 25 years on, and obviously you've got this huge amount of experience. So you set up HJZ Productions, which is that was like 20 years ago or something. Was
a good friend of mine who I went from elementary school through college was working at MSNBC at the time in New Jersey, and Imus was doing his radio show. And once in a while, they would take his radio show on the road. And they were doing it from somewhere local in New York. I forget where. And he called me and said, "Hey, Howie, are you busy on this day? Can you shoot camera for us?" I'm like, "Sure, why not?" And he's like, "Do you have any friends?" And so that's
a pretty personal question, isn't it?
Yeah. I called up
three or four camera.
Exactly. I called up 3 or 4 camera friends of mine and got them the job. And that kind of turned into another show, and it kind of snowballed. And boom, I started HJZ Productions, and it became a staffing company for television, sports, and entertainment events nationwide.
So are you now much more focused on that side of the business, or do you get out with a camera every now and then, and just to keep your skills honed?
The last event I did was the Kentucky Derby, which was early May. And before that, I haven't shot. Before then was September.
Yes.
Really slowing down the camera work.
Right, yes.
25 years takes a a tone on your back and your neck.
Of course, but I think everything has changed. So if you go back to 2000 when you set up your production company, that was very much the beginning of the internet, and there was no such thing as well, I think there was the beginning of broadband, but this whole idea of being able to push video, and where we are today, obviously we have YouTube, we have TikTok, we have all of the self-publishing. Has that diluted the art form, do you think, or what's the impact of that been?
Of the internet on television?
Well, yeah, no, just on your particular, the feeling that everyone feels that they can be a cameraman now. Has that made your business more in demand, or what impact has that had?
So more in demand, and I'll explain it why, the reason why. When you, especially for like big time events like Super Bowls, Kentucky Derbies, big events, the director wants their camera people, his or her group of people. And so I traveled with one of the directors from NBC Sports, John Gonzalez, for years, because I would like direct the show from the sideline of the football field. My camera number for years was camera 7. He knows that if I said take 7 or look at 7, he could blindly take the camera because he knows that I wouldn't say that without knowing that I had the shot.
Yes.
So it's that type of relationship that the director becomes like a shot selector instead of directing the crew on what to do, because he or she knows that they have people on the crew that think and know what they want, think like them and know what they want.
And is your industry not so much suffering, but is it getting harder and harder to find people like you with your level of expertise?
Yeah, it's there's no training ground. Years and years and years ago, the training ground was the networks, and the networks trained their people on how to do things, and then they went out on the weekends and did sports, and then eventually those people went freelance or became independent contractors. But there's no real training ground on how to do it. So last year I started the broadcast sports course, and it was basically it became a training ground on how to get new and younger people into the television, sports, and entertainment field, because there was no way to, no way to break in, no way to learn. And this is a type of industry where you need to do it and learn on the job and get true on the job experience.
And so that's I think a really interesting thing where you've got not so much the decline, because the demand for your services must be increasing, because more and more sports, more and more people accessing sports, more and more networks. So if you're looking at Prime and Netflix and Hulu, you've got more networks. So why is there that strange anomaly where you've potentially got more sporting events and more demand for camera operators, or camera gurus, I think we should call them.
Yeah.
But there's no training. Why is that?
That's a great question, because one, I think a lot of the industry people, there's a lot of people in the industry that don't want to train other people because they're scared they're going to be replaced. But that's small-minded thinking. If you train someone that is good as you, then you could
exactly
use them as a replacement when you need to get out of work. So that's a good question, because most of the industry is freelance, meaning you only work when you get paid.
Yes.
So there's no real employees. Anyone that's a camera operator, an audio person, a replay person, they're not really employees. Everyone is freelance. So there's no employer to train the people.
But that's but as you said, that was different years ago when like the NBCs or the bigger networks, they would train you. And so I suppose, how do you find that the wheel has turned full circle now? So now, rather than you going to college, you are the college effectively.
Right.
Is that, are you taking people in at a very young age, or what sort of level of experience do they need to have before they can start with you?
Just a love to learn. You don't need to go to college to get into the industry. So or if you have gone to college and you do have TV experience, that's great too. But anyone that's out of high school that wants to learn the industry, or out of college that has some experience and wants to get into the industry. And the thing is, we offer a hands-on experience. And before COVID, our model was we would teach people in like a 2-day boot camp, and then follow up for 6 months with on the job kind of like intern training.
Yes.
Then COVID came and kind of, we were shut down for a while, obviously. And we're hopefully going to start the in-person training back up, hopefully in the fall when things kind of level out.
Is this something that is just sort of New York based, or is this something that you can see spreading across the US?
Our first goal was to make it work in New York and then take it across the country.
Because I would imagine,
Absolutely.
and what's the sort of number of people? Because it sounds to me that if these other options are no longer available, because I haven't come across anything like the business that you have. It's such a specialized place. You must have, just a handful of competitors, if any, I would have thought.
Yeah, in the teaching space of this, there's nobody that we're aware of that does this.
So not even
Uh,
the colleges. Can you
yeah.
not do that same course that you did a
Well,
few years ago?
the thing is, the colleges that the professors are great and everything, but never once when I went to college did I hear the word
Yeah.
freelancer, independent contractor, and that's what the whole industry is. Most college professors haven't been on the job site in years, and the technology is changing so rapidly. And we wrote a book on how to act in every position
Yes.
on the TV crew and what your responsibilities were, and that's part of the course, and how to shoot baseball, basketball, soccer, hockey, boxing from every single camera position. Every director has his or her own way to do things, but we provide the general way to do it
Yes.
on all those sports.
And does that extend to editing as well? So if you think of all of the other industries or the cogs that are within that sort of Swiss watch that creates the finished product.
I specifically don't teach editing, but my network is so, I've developed such a great network that I have plenty of editors that I can send people to, that if they come to me and that's, their passion or what they want to do, or I definitely, my
Yes.
network is big enough to help with that as well.
So this is a real departure from what you were doing before, where you were recruiting people for specific jobs. Is this a much more challenging position, do you feel, than
Yeah, one, I never thought of myself as a teacher. Two, I never thought I would write a book or a manual on how to do this. And it's going out, finding people to take the course, uh, teaching the course, following up with people month to month, making sure they get the right education on how to do things, and how to operate in the industry, helping them get clients, maintain the clients. And this is all things that we kind of teach in the course. How to speak on the phone to a new client, how to write them an email, what to put in the email.
So it's like the
Um,
business side. So it's all of the things that they
yeah,
don't
it's
teach you.
everything. Yeah,
It's it's
yeah, because
it's,
and,
it's how to
and what
create
to
a
do with your
business
money.
out of it.
Yeah, because ultimately, as a freelancer, you're an independent contractor. You're your own salesperson. No one's going out and selling you. And so you're part camera person, audio person, whatever your job function is, but mostly a salesperson. And you're only as good as your last performance.
It's funny. I was talking to someone the other day that specializes in providing marketing services for dentists,
Mhm.
because it's sort of similar, because it's a profession. In other words, you spend all of your time learning to become a great dentist, and then when you set
Right.
up your practice, you realize that actually there's this is a business here. I've got to be good not just at the dental
Yeah.
work, but I've got to learn how to recruit people, how to market, how to get patients through the door. So is that part of the package? So you're effectively teaching people. It's a profession. It must be described as a profession.
Yeah, absolutely. We teach people like I said, who we tell them who the clients are, how to communicate to the clients, how often they should communicate to the clients. Even their fellow freelancers, your the other camera people, if we just talk about camera people, they could be your clients too. Because if Joe Blow needs to get out of a day of work because he's sick, or she has a family event that they didn't realize that they had, the rule is they need to call a replacement and find a replacement. So they're just as much of a client as the client is, because
Yes,
you want to you want to get called by other people to be their replacement.
it is. I can't help thinking. Have you seen this film called Stringer?
No.
There's this amazing film called Stringer. I can't remember. It's got it's a pretty good cast, but it's about these guys that video all of the stuff that happens at night on the freeways. So they had these police scanners, and they're constantly listening in for stuff that's happening. Then they drive at breakneck speed to try and get the first shots of the inferno, or the car that's
Right.
flipped on the freeway. So
Right.
I'm not suggesting that could be a subdivision, but it is an incredibly exciting world, I suppose it can be. Aside from the occasional blows to the head.
Yeah. I've
Uh,
had 3 concussions.
Three, oh, right? Okay, yes, yes.
The other 2 were on the football field.
Yeah, and yeah. I said, it's Tuesday today, don't you? Yes. Yeah. And how many clients are there? So is this give us some idea about the size of the industry. So, presumably it's not just dominated by 3 people.
No,
Three
so
networks.
you have your major networks like NBC, ABC/ESPN, CBS, Fox. Those are the major networks. Then there's like the local, and we'll just take New York for example, the local networks, MSG, Madison Square Garden Network, where the Yankees, Rangers, and Knicks air. Then there's SNY, where the Mets and the New York Nets air, the New York Nets now. And also MSG also has soccer. So that's just the New York area. And then there's other clients like my company that does, big one-off events. Like we do big horse races, big boxing events. There's Showtime, the Zone that comes in that we do a lot of stuff for. And then we subsequently have a lot of clients that bring their shows to New York that call us
Yes.
to do whatever events there are. We do a lot of track and field. We hire crews for boxing, soccer, whatever comes in.
And this
The
is
New York
not
City
just at the sort of
Marathon.
professional level. So presumably there's a demand for this at the sort of high level amateur levels. And
Yeah.
I'm not talking about shooting local weddings or anything, but this is
No.
not. This is happening all over the country at
Yeah.
lots of different levels. Different sports, different days of the week. Where
Yeah,
you
in the
have that-
Midwest, like college football
Yep.
and basketball is huge. Like the Big Ten network is a huge network that airs all those schools that make up the Big Ten. Just those networks, just those schools, football, basketball. They probably air all of their sports. We don't have a lot of college in New York, in New Jersey, because we have a lot of professional teams.
Yes.
But there are, college sports is popular, but not as popular.
So it sounds like this is a great opportunity, because if the number of people that are moving into this industry is declining, yet the demand is increasing, then you've got that sort of mismatch. So I remember years ago, I always wished that I'd become a plumber or an electrician, because that you could actually work 24 hours a day, 7 days a
Right.
week. Because is it that sort of position with what you're doing? Because there's such a shortage, it seems, of
Yeah, and to your point, the age of the freelancers is getting up there,
Yep.
where people are starting to retire or should retire, but there's no one below to come up that is good enough to take those people's spot. So and with the with live streaming, that is a whole other avenue of sporting events to get televised
Yeah.
or live streamed that normally wouldn't have gotten any airtime, because you can do a live stream of a smaller event that requires less money that wouldn't have
Absolutely.
gotten televised. So it's a whole other crew of people that is needed to work. And that is not that you want to have someone that's not qualified or not good enough, but it's a good training ground also, the
Yes.
live stream
And of course,
side of things.
it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more people you have, the more
Right.
popular the live stream becomes. And
Yeah.
is there a crossover? Is there like if we draw our Venn diagrams and we've got, the sporting camera guys and the, like the Hollywood guys, as it were, is there common elements there? So are you part of the same pool, or is it two very different skill sets?
Two very different skill sets. So your Hollywood type people are doing a lot of commercials and films and TV shows, and the sports and sports people are doing mainly sporting events and lower type events and concerts. But two separate
I can imagine
entities.
there's probably a little bit of rivalry between the teams there. One side probably, claims that the other guys don't know one end of a camera from the other.
Well, to your point, at the Super Bowl, it's like whichever network is airing it, the sports people are doing the actual game and the pregame, and then the entertainment crews are doing the pregame, the halftime show.
Yes, and I suppose there's this sort of. Do you have your own set of particular ways of insulting the entertainment guys? You probably got your own language, and obviously you don't have to explain it here, but I'm sure there's this sort of, unmentioned way of referring to the.
We call them the white glovers.
Yeah, I'm sure that's probably the PG version. But the other interesting thing is that it is effectively, it's not a franchise obviously, but it's like that where you've got someone that's it's presumably these can be people of any age who want to learn a profession or a trade that is exciting, that is never going to be the same, that allows them to tap into their passion. So people are passionate about sport.
I mean, I've been to some of the greatest places on the planet shooting sports. I've done 6 or 7 Olympics. I've been to Beijing, London, Greece, Italy, just saying.
And you're in the middle of it as well. You haven't got the cheap seats up in the the nosebleeds. You're in the middle.
I've had the fortune to do either gymnastics or swimming in the summer, and figure skating in the Winter Olympics. I did figure skating in Salt Lake City, in the Salt Lake City Olympics.
Yes.
I've done plenty of Super Bowls. I've done NHL finals, 20 Kentucky Derbies. So I've had the good fortune to travel the world to shoot sports and entertainment.
And the fact that there's demand for it, and you provide the business side of it as well, because the critical thing I think most people will ask is, okay, let's say you teach me how to tap into my inner psyche so I can get the shots. Who's going to hire me if I'm a freelance? So do you solve that problem for them as well? Do you help them get the clients and get started? And I think you mentioned that before.
We actually provide them a list of clients and names and phone numbers and email addresses. And we tell them, we tell our students, this is how you go about doing it. Contact them once a month, send them your availability, follow up and we actually give them a script of what to say on the phone, a script of what to write in an email. And because I'm the client, right, yes, to a lot of freelancers, I know what works.
Are you sort of combining your previous business like HSE with this? So now you've got your own guys. So when a job comes in, you can hand that over almost.
Not necessarily, because we deal with a union, so I can't necessarily hire people directly from our course, but I can certainly use I can definitely use them, but I can't just 100%.
I'm sure there's regulations around who you choose, and but it means that you're right in the epicenter of where the deals come in. So I can't think of anything that would be better positioned to actually find. It sounds, I might give this a go. Actually, I mean, it sounds great. I mean, particularly if you want to get out and do things and have something where every day is different.
Yeah, every day is different, and it's sports,
And you're right, and who knows what's going to happen next? So, well, that is great. I can just imagine it's like a renaissance almost, where the old team have gone, the old method has disappeared, and the old training, and now this is the new. So, I was always fascinated also about this sort of instant reporting, where people who see things, and this is more news as opposed to sport. Do you see yourself sort of moving into other areas, like all sorts of opportunities in picking up, you know what I mean, where someone will see an incident, they'll film it on their mobile phone and they'll zap it across, and that then gets syndicated.
Yeah, with how the technology has changed everything, that can completely be done, right? Live stream, you can live stream to anywhere from anywhere. And that's how our second business started. VES, Viridian Entertainment Services, is a live streaming business, and it focuses on, we've done talk shows, cooking shows, sporting events, concerts, all live streamed, and we basically are all remote. Our crew is not on site at all.
Wow. So, but you can set up a lot of this stuff just with green screens and stuff that you can buy from Best Buy, presumably.
Well, so we have 25 computers. They're high-end gaming laptops with high-def cameras and USB microphones, and we send out these camera kits with Ethernet cables and ring lights, and we send them to whoever's in our show. We've done shows with Magic Johnson and Charles Barkley where we send them our computers, and then over the internet we can dial into the computer from my office.
Yes,
I can zoom the camera, focus the camera, and then bring them into our production fully remote, without even seeing them in person.
And so I think that in itself is probably going to give rise to a whole new type of TV show. I mean, because at the moment the live streaming is just reacting, but do you see new, like you've got these TV shows where you can choose the outcome, so you've got the ability to create so much more content. So it sounds like you've got a tiger by the tail there.
Yeah, like you said, clients want to get their content out there, and this technology was maybe 5 years down the road, but with COVID and everything, it just boom, it came so much quicker. And tomorrow, one of the companies that we work with, New Tech and NDI, is making a huge announcement about the advance of their technology, which is going to just change the game.
Wonderful. And what is that? NDI, is that a sort of video cards, or?
NDI is basically a transport method for video and audio. Wow. To getting a source from one location to another.
So like you're talking about sort of compression, the ability to put a lot more data.
Yeah.
So you get much richer images, sort of, TV quality images through a live stream.
And you can take sources from anywhere in the world.
So I think no one's going to leave their home ever again, really, from the sound of it.
There's no reason, right?
Well, wow. So who's your client? Who's your for your training? What's your major focus at the moment? Is it the training school?
The right now our major focus is the live stream company and then the training school. We because of COVID, things changed, and the TV business is slowly coming back. So we kind of put the training school on hold to probably early fall, because we didn't want to train people for an industry that we weren't sure of where it was going. So now we pretty much have a good idea that things should come back the way they were in the fall. So we're gonna start that up again. But our major focus is the live stream company, and helping companies get their content out there with the use of our equipment. And
and who's your major client for that? So
we've done live streams for T-Mobile, Capital One, Verizon. We've done concerts at West Point. We've done concerts for Salt and Pepper. All different avenues.
And you manage all of the process. So it's not just the provision of the equipment, but it's
Correct.
pulling everything together, the networking, the mixing, the
Mhm.
changing from camera one to camera two, even though they're in remote places.
Yeah, so it's real interesting how it works. I have a team of three people, four including myself, and we work on all of the projects together. So it's me, I'm in my house, and I have four, I'm looking at four different computer screens. And my director is in his house in New Jersey. My audio person is in his house in New Jersey, and we have another tech guy who's in his house in Brooklyn. And we're all simultaneously working on the same project, but all remote.
Is that so? I've seen this. I've seen this with bands that play where you've got
Mhm.
the guitarist here, you've got the drummer here, and they're all connected, and it's all seamless, and they're all, they're all playing, and it sounds like they're in the same studio.
Exactly.
And so, is that the sort of thing that you can manage? So you can create the impression that a whole company is this important? Do you think for companies to sort of bring people together and have virtual events when there is no office anymore?
Yeah, and the day of the big conferences is over.
Yes.
You're no longer going to see 500 to 1,000 people travel to a location to a conference, because maybe you'll get 200 people, and the conference could be live streamed, and with technology it can be live streamed. You can have people in different meetup rooms. You can still over the internet network.
Yes.
And you never have to leave your house, and you can be productive at your job because you're not flying, you're not staying in a hotel room, you're not away from your family, but you can still take advantage of the conference. And we call it like the hybrid.
It is. And again, if you take something like Zoom, for example, which people naturally, I think, assume, Zoom is okay. You might get, 30 people on the same.
Right.
But the channel's very crowded. The quality is very low. So what you're able to do is actually create these virtual sort of separated booths where people from the comfort of their own home can have these sort of one-on-one conversations with people, can network, can do all the things that they wanted to do, but without having to, jump on a plane and travel and all that extra expense.
Yeah, and our company provides, we can do the in-person setup with lights and staging, and provide the cameras to shoot the people so you see them on the screens, but we also take care of the streaming part so the people don't have to leave, and the quality is it could air on TV because it's all high
that's
def.
the most important thing, isn't it? Because when you do conferences, there's a lot of money that's spent on that initial image, that initial feeling that you get when you walk in. This is huge. So if you can deliver that same production quality on a virtual live stream basis, then again, why would anyone go to all the expense? And you don't know how many seats are going to turn up. You never know with conferences how many people. So this presumably removes all that risk in terms of booking huge rooms when fewer people than expected turn up.
Yeah, we do these live streams. Like I said, some of the biggest names we've done was Charles Barkley and Magic Johnson, and they were in two separate places across the country from each other, talking on the same show. You would never know they were not in the same room. They interacted as if they were together.
Yes,
they were just wherever they were.
But it's that quality, isn't it? It's that feeling that you don't have to sacrifice quality to get that that remoteness. I think that's really exciting, because I know that one of the biggest impacts that COVID has had in terms of our working practice is the fact that everyone is now much more comfortable working from home. It's no longer the second choice now. I think so. So with what you're doing, do you think more and more of these types of meetings that traditionally would happen in central locations like conferences, do you think that's all going to move to your types of platform?
Yeah, I honestly do. I mean, I still think they'll have them, they'll exist, but not to the extent or with the amount of people. No way.
No, I think you're right. And I don't think it's just to do with sort of safety or COVID. I think it's just much more efficient. People can spend more time with the people they want to, rather than...
and working from home, you're so much more productive, especially just take the New York area, for example, right? You don't have, if you were driving into New York City,
Yeah.
you don't have, that's 2 hours out of your day with no traffic.
Yeah.
If there's no traffic, 2 hours out of your day that you have back.
Yes.
Right. And then you can be productive without traveling. And then obviously if you're going to a conference, you're away for a few days, you're away from your family, you can still get work done, attend a conference.
Yes.
And you're more productive.
And the great thing is that everyone's in the same boat. So, everyone's now used to this and embraces this. Whereas before it was a case of, what do you mean you're not going to be at the conference? So it's
right.
That's a great. So that must be very exciting for you in terms of both the combination of having this, bringing the people in, training them up, and having this business that particularly with the change in technology that's coming, that's going to massively improve the quality and the speed and the accessibility.
Yeah, and just to give you an example, I had this one kid, Brandon, in my course in the fall, and because obviously the TV business was slowed down tremendously, but my live stream business kind of amped up. I needed help, so I was able to retrain him in the live stream business, and he's been working with us on our last few shows. So
that's fantastic. Well, so to all the companies out there that are looking for ways of engaging customers, online conferences, people that have always thought about putting a conference together but never quite did it because of all the cost and the risk. This is a great way to presumably to start with something small and test it. And and
the thing with our company is we work with such a great team that we can handle it all, because I have teams of people that can do different things. So I have a staging and lighting team that can handle the lighting and staging at the location. Right, if there's an in-person, then we have a team that handles the live stream portion of it, and then we have a person that works on if there's hotels and food needed. So it's whatever is needed. We have great teams of people available to handle those sorts of things.
Huge. So you guys must be busy.
We're working on it.
Well, look, I'm going to switch gears now.
Sure.
And I'm going to take you through the Hooked on Startups Quickfire Questionnaire.
Awesome.
I know you can't control your enthusiasm. So, Howie Zales, question number 1. What is your favorite word?
My favorite word is yes. I was always taught never to say no.
So, and the next question, I think I can guess what is your least favorite word?
No.
And what are you most excited about right now?
The live stream technology, the internet, the way it's changing so rapidly.
And question number 4, what turns you off right now?
What turns me off right now? Air travel. I traveled for 20 something years, 4 times a week.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah, I can imagine that. Question number 5, what sound or noise do you love?
The engines of my boat starting.
Yes, yes, it started. Fantastic. The next best sound is the sound of the transmission engaging. Yes, that works too.
Well, it's summer in New York and we don't get a lot of weekends, so.
Well, that's great. I think that's just a major achievement, just the fact that it starts. I think boats are the best way of converting money into noise.
Yep.
So question number 6. Again, I can probably guess this one. What sound or noise do you hate?
My dog's barking.
I was going to imagine it's the sound of the starter on the boat, not engaging with it.
That's true. That has happened.
Number 7. What is your favorite curse word? And you can plead the 5th if you like.
Fuck. I love that word.
It is, honestly.
Love it.
It is. Yeah, it is.
It's my favorite.
Monumental word, isn't it?
Yeah. I love it.
It's so much it's such a small word, so powerful. It is the foundation of society. Question number 8. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
I have to say baseball player.
And what profession would you not like to attempt?
I would not like to be a surgeon.
I was going to say neurosurgeon. Yeah. having to open up people's heads and extract
Exactly.
baseballs from them. Yeah. Question number 10. The final question. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
I love this. Well done, Howie.
Fantastic. Well done, Howie. You get to go back down again. Yes. or apart from that, take 3, about 5 minutes in, the bit of a camera wobble there. But that's brilliant. Howie, thank you so much for coming on. Final question. How do people find out more about you? How do they find out how to contact you about, the live streaming and,
Sure.
in particular, I think that's the most exciting thing that you're working on, as you were saying. So how do people get hold of you?
Sure. Our website is Viridity Entertainment. I'll spell it. It's VIRIDITY entertainment.com, viridityentertainment.com. And I'm available on all social media, Howard Zales at LinkedIn, Howie Zales on Facebook, Instagram at Howie Zales.
All of those on the show notes, so they'll just be a point and a click away. But Howie, thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure. Can't wait to stay in touch and see how
Same
everything
here, Matt.
develops. And thank you once again.
Very grateful. Thank you.
You are listening to Hooked on Startups, where every week you'll hear from some of the most talented, inspiring, and successful entrepreneurs who share their real life stories, how they overcame challenges and failures, and how they mastered success. Get ready for some of the best business tips, tricks and tactics, and some frank, unscripted discussions. Here's your host, Matthew Sullivan.